You know what gets me? We've let an entire generation of incredible motorcycles just fade into the shadows. While everyone obsesses over the same handful of classics, there were 15 other machines from the 1960s that were absolutely legendary. Bikes that changed the game, won races, and broke hearts when they disappeared. Today we're bringing them back into the light. Stick around because some of these will transport you right back to 1965. Like and subscribe if you enjoy learning about the forgotten legends of motorcycling. Number 15, the Ducati Mach 1. Before Ducati became the superbike powerhouse we know today, they built something brilliant for the common man, the Mach 1. This 250cc single could legitimately hit 80 miles per hour and keep doing it all day long. That 249cc overhead cam engine was a jewel, producing 28 horsepower from just 285 pounds. The power-to-weight ratio made it feel twice as powerful. What set the Mach 1 apart was Ducati's desmodromic valve system on certain models, racing technology in a reasonably priced street bike. This system used mechanical valve closing instead of springs, allowing higher RPMs and more precise control. It was engineering sophistication you'd expect from bikes costing twice as much. American riders who found them loved everything about it. Perfect for commuting, fantastic on canyon rides, and reliable enough to depend on daily. The riding position hit that sweet spot between sporty and comfortable. Handling was nimble, and the brakes were surprisingly good for a lightweight of that era. But here's why it vanished. Ducati's American distribution was practically non-existent. While Japanese manufacturers built dealer networks nationwide, Ducati had maybe a handful of dealers in major cities. Parts were difficult, service was harder. Most Americans didn't even know Ducati made street bikes. The Mach 1 was brilliant, but if nobody can buy or fix it, brilliance doesn't matter. Number 14, Norton P11 Ranger. Take Norton's bulletproof 705cc Atlas engine, stuff it into a matchless Scrambler frame, add high pipes and knobby tires. Sounds crazy, right? The P11 Ranger was pure genius. Norton built it specifically for American desert racing, and they didn't mess around. That Atlas engine produced 50 horsepower and massive torque. The frame was modified matchless G85CS Scrambler geometry, proven tough in serious competition. They added upswept exhaust, high mount fenders, and serious ground clearance. The result absolutely dominated American desert racing in the late 60s. What made the P11 legendary was its indestructibility. While competitors fought reliability problems in brutal conditions, the P11 kept running. That big Norton twin was practically bulletproof. The combination of massive torques and tough construction meant you could abuse this bike in ways that killed other machines. American riders discovered it could do everything. Commute during the week, race Saturday, tour Sunday. The engine was smooth enough for highway cruising, but tough enough to bounce off rocks at 60 miles per hour. Handling was surprisingly good for such a tall bike, stable at speed, but still flickable in tight situations. Why don't we remember it? Production was tiny, maybe 600 total over 3 years. Norton was already in financial trouble, and the P11 was expensive to build. Most got raced hard and crashed harder. Finding a survivor today is nearly impossible, but the P11 Ranger was one of the toughest, most capable motorcycles ever built. Number 13, Honda CB450, also known as Black Bomber. The CB450 should be celebrated. This was Honda's first serious big bore performance bike, and they threw everything at it. Double overhead cams, torsion bar valve springs, 180-degree crank. Technology years ahead of its time. Yet most riders today have never heard of it. Honda engineered the CB450 to compete with British 650 twins. That 444cc parallel twin used double overhead cams when competitors still use push rods. The torsion bar valve springs were revolutionary, eliminating valve float problems that limited engine RPM. This allowed the CB450 to rev higher and produce more power than engines twice its size. Performance was genuinely impressive. 43 horsepower pushed it to 105 miles per hour, cruising at 80 all day without complaint. More importantly, it was smooth, incredibly smooth. Honda achieved refinement British manufacturers couldn't match. The electric starter worked every time, a revelation for riders used to kick-starting temperamental British twins. But the CB450 had a problem: personality. British bikes had character and soul. The CB450 was clinical, precise, maybe cold. American riders respected it, but didn't love it. Plus, Honda's CB750 arrived in 1969 and immediately made the CB450 look outdated. The Black Bomber nickname came from early models' dark paint and controversial styling. Riders either loved it or hated it. Today, the CB450 represents Honda's 1960s ambition and engineering prowess, a stepping stone to dominance that's been completely overshadowed by its famous successor. Number 12. Velocette Thruxton. If you wanted the absolute best handling 500cc motorcycle money could buy in the 1960s, you bought a Velocette Thruxton. This wasn't just great, it was a masterpiece of British engineering at its peak. That hardly anyone remembers it today is a genuine tragedy. Velocette built the Thruxton specifically for production racing, particularly the prestigious Thruxton 500-mile endurance race. They took their reliable Venom 500cc single, added a racing fairing, rear set, clip-ons, and tuned the engine for sustained high-speed running. The result produced about 40 horsepower, remarkable for a 500 single. The Thruxton's real magic was the chassis. Velocette had built motorcycles since 1905, and by the 60s, they understood handling better than almost anyone. Frame geometry was perfect, stable at high speed but responsive in corners. Suspension was beautifully set up, brakes were powerful and progressive. This bike could dance through twisty roads in ways heavier twins only dreamed about. Racing success came immediately. Thruxtons won production races across Europe and America. Private racers loved them because they were fast, reliable, and didn't need factory support to be competitive. The bike could run flat out for hours without mechanical drama. The problem? Velocette was a small family company without deep pockets. While Japanese manufacturers invested millions in modern facilities, Velocette was essentially hand-building motorcycles in a Victorian-era factory. They couldn't compete on price or volume. By 1971, Velocette closed forever. The Thruxton died with them. Number 11. Yamaha YDS3. Before Yamaha became the powerhouse we know today, they built a scrappy little 250cc two-stroke that changed everything. The YDS3 was Yamaha's first serious attempt at the American market, showing the world that Japanese bikes weren't just cheap transportation, they could be genuinely exciting. That 246cc two-stroke twin was a revelation, producing 24 horsepower from just 305 pounds. Power delivery was instantaneous. Twist the throttle and hang on. The little Yamaha would scream to 80 miles per hour, sounding like an angry hornet the whole way. For young American riders in the mid-60s, this was affordable excitement. What made the YDS3 special was its reliability combined with performance. Two-strokes had a reputation for being fragile and temperamental, but Yamaha's engineering was exceptional. So the Autolube automatic oil injection system meant you didn't need to pre-mix fuel. The 5-speed gearbox was smooth and precise. The handling was surprisingly good, with proper suspension that actually worked. American riders discovered the YDS3 was perfect for everything: commuting, weekend rides, even occasional racing. The lightweight made it easy to handle, and the peppy engine made every ride entertaining. Plus, it was affordable and dead reliable, two things that mattered tremendously to working riders. Why is it forgotten? The YDS3 was quickly replaced by better models as Yamaha rapidly evolved. Within a few years came bigger, faster bikes that made the YDS3 seem outdated. But this little screamer proved Japanese manufacturers could build exciting motorcycles, paving the way for everything that followed. Before we check out the next bike, smash that like button and subscribe. We bring you rare and epic bikes every week. Number 10. Ariel Aero and Leader. Here's something completely different. A fully enclosed 250cc two-stroke twin that looked like it came from the future. The Ariel leader and its sportier sibling, the Arrow, were unlike anything else on the road. Most people have completely forgotten these existed, which is a shame because they were genuinely innovative. Ariel designed the leader as the perfect commuter motorcycle. Full bodywork protected you from weather and road spray. The pressed steel frame was maintenance-free and incredibly strong. That 247cc two-stroke twin produced about 17 horsepower, enough for 70 miles per hour cruising. The riding position was upright and comfortable, perfect for all-day riding. The engineering was fascinating. Instead of a traditional tubular frame, Ariel used a pressed steel beam construction that also served as the air intake duct. The suspension was proper motorcycle quality, not scooter components. They even included turn signals and a proper automotive-style instrument panel, things most motorcycles didn't have yet. The Arrow took the same concept but stripped away most bodywork for a sportier look. It became surprisingly popular with younger riders who appreciated the unique styling and peppy performance. The two-stroke engine was reliable, economical, and easy to maintain. British riders loved them for commuting. They were weatherproof, reliable, and economical. But American riders never quite understood them. They wanted raw performance, not practicality. When Ariel went out of business in 1965, the leader and Arrow died with them. Number 9. Gilera 504. Before the Japanese four-cylinder revolution, there was Gilera. The Italian company had dominated Grand Prix racing in the 1950s with their legendary four-cylinder race bikes. In 1964, they decided to build a street version, the 504. This should have changed motorcycling history. Instead, it barely made a ripple. That 499cc transverse four-cylinder engine was a work of art. Based on their racing technology, it produced about 50 horsepower and could rev to 9,000 RPM, astronomical for a street bike in 1964. The engine used dual overhead cams and featured beautiful Italian engineering throughout. It sounded absolutely glorious, a high-pitched mechanical symphony that sent chills down your spine. The performance was stunning for its time. Top speed approached 115 miles per hour, and the handling was typically Italian, precise, responsive, involving. The brakes were excellent, the build quality was superb, and the styling was pure elegance. This was an exotic motorcycle when most riders were puttering around on singles and twins. So why did it fail? Price, mainly. The Gilera 504 cost about twice what a British twin cost. Distribution outside Italy was almost non-existent. Parts availability was terrible. And most riders simply didn't understand what they were looking at. A sophisticated, exotic four-cylinder motorcycle was so far beyond most people's experience that they couldn't appreciate it. When Honda launched the CB750 5 years later with similar technology but better price and support, the Gilera was finished. Today, survivors are incredibly rare and valuable. Number 8. Bridgestone 350 GTR. Yes, the tire company built motorcycles. And yes, they were absolutely fantastic. The Bridgestone 350 GTR was a two-stroke twin that could embarrass bikes twice its size, yet hardly anyone outside Japan ever knew it existed. This bike deserved so much better. That 345cc two-stroke twin produced an incredible 40 horsepower. That's genuine superbike power from a middleweight two-stroke. The engine used Bridgestone's unique dual-ring piston design, which reduced blow-by and increased efficiency. It featured proper rotary valve induction, not the primitive piston port setup most two-strokes used. The result was smooth, reliable power that just kept pulling. Performance was genuinely shocking. The GTR could hit 100 miles per hour and get there quickly. The 6-speed gearbox was smooth and precise. The handling was excellent, with proper suspension and surprisingly good brakes. The styling was gorgeous, sleek, purposeful, distinctly Japanese, but with Italian flair. American riders who discovered the GTR became instant evangelists. This bike could outrun British 650 twins, outhandle most everything, and do it while returning 50 miles per gallon. It was reliable, well built, and exciting to ride. But Bridgestone had a problem. They made pre-made tires. Honda allegedly pressured them, keep building motorcycles and lose tire contracts with motorcycle manufacturers. In 1968, Bridgestone stopped motorcycle production entirely. The GTR vanished, and with it went one of the most exciting motorcycles of the decade. Today, finding one is nearly impossible, but riders who experienced them never forgot that incredible two-stroke scream. Number 7. Moto Guzzi V7. The Moto Guzzi V7 was Italy's answer to a question Americans didn't know they were asking. What if a police bike was actually fun to ride? This 703cc transverse V-twin was originally designed for Italian police and military use, but Moto Guzzi decided to sell it to regular folks too. Smart move. That longitudinal V-twin layout was unusual but brilliant. The cylinders stuck out the sides, providing excellent cooling. The shaft drive meant no chain maintenance, revolutionary for most riders used to adjusting chains constantly. The engine produced about 45 horsepower, but more importantly, it made huge torque from idle. You could pull from walking speed in top gear without complaint. What made the V7 special was its character. This was a touring bike that could actually tour. The riding position was relaxed and comfortable. The suspension soaked up rough roads beautifully. The engine was smooth and unburstable. You could run it hard all day without worry. Italian police were putting 100,000 miles on these bikes, proving their incredible durability. American riders who discovered the V7 loved it. This was a bike you could actually live with long term. The shaft drive alone saved hours of maintenance. The comfortable ergonomics made long rides pleasant instead of punishing, and the distinctive sound of that transverse V-twin was addictive, but marketing killed it. Moto Guzzi had virtually no American presence. Dealers were rare, parts were scarce, and most Americans had never heard of the brand. The V7 sold in tiny numbers, though it eventually evolved into the V7 Sport and legendary Le Mans models. The original V7 laid the foundation for Guzzi's future, but today it's completely forgotten. Number 6. Suzuki T500 Titan. The Suzuki T500 Titan was the two-stroke that could do everything, and did it well. This 492cc two-stroke twin was Suzuki's shot at building a serious middleweight that could compete with four-stroke 650cc. Incredibly, they succeeded, yet today, most riders have never heard of it. That big two-stroke twin produced about 47 horsepower, which was competitive with British 650 twins. But the real story was torque. Massive, instant, everywhere. Twist the throttle at any RPM and the Titan just launched forward. The power delivery was actually smooth for a two-stroke, without the peaky on-off characteristics that plagued smaller bikes. What made the T500 legendary was its versatility. Riders discovered this bike could tour, commute, race, or even handle light off-road work. The engine was bulletproof, regularly running 50,000 miles without major work. The handling was surprisingly good, with proper suspension and decent brakes. And it returned excellent fuel economy, 40 miles per gallon, which was remarkable for a 500cc bike with real performance. American riders embraced the Titan enthusiastically. It was affordable, reliable, fast enough to be exciting, and economical enough to live with daily. The distinctive two-stroke exhaust note turned heads everywhere. Plus, the bike was dead simple to maintain. Basic tools and minimal mechanical knowledge could keep a Titan running forever. So why is it forgotten? To be honest, the Titan's looks were not its strong point. It was big, bulky, and somewhat ungainly. When Suzuki launched more sophisticated models in the 70s, the Titan faded away. But this unassuming two-stroke was one of the most capable all-around motorcycles of the 1960s. Number 5. Honda CL77 Scrambler. The Honda CL77 Scrambler was the bike that taught Americans what dual sport meant before that term existed. This 305cc twin could handle pavement or dirt with equal competence, and it did so with typical Honda reliability, yet it's been completely overshadowed by its street-going siblings. Honda took their bulletproof CB77 Super Hawk engine, producing about 28 horsepower, and built a Scrambler around it. High-mount exhaust pipes, bash plate, knobby tires, and increased ground clearance transformed the street bike into something genuinely capable off-road. The suspension was upgraded, the gearing was lower, and the whole package weighed just 350 pounds. What made the CL77 special was its versatility. This bike could genuinely do everything. The engine was smooth and reliable, the handling was nimble, and the ergonomics worked for varied riding conditions. American riders discovered the CL77 was perfect for exploring. This was the 60s. Thousands of miles of dirt roads still crisscrossed America, and the CL77 could handle them all. The engine's torquey power delivery made technical riding easy. The lightweight meant you could pick it up when you dropped it, and you would drop it. Racing success came naturally. The CL77 dominated its class in desert racing, scrambles, and enduros. It was affordable, reliable, and competitive right out of the crate. But today, everyone remembers the street CB77 and forgets its scrambler sibling. Number 4. BMW R60 2nd Edition. While everyone was obsessing over British bikes and the Japanese invasion, BMW was quietly building the best touring motorcycle money could buy. The R60 2nd Edition was a 594cc boxer twin that prioritized comfort, reliability, and practicality over raw performance. For riders who actually rode long distances, this was perfection. That horizontally opposed twin engine produced just 28 horsepower, but it made torque everywhere. More importantly, it was smooth. The boxer configuration provided perfect primary balance. Combined with shaft drive, the R60 delivered vibration-free cruising that made 500-mile days easy. The engine was essentially bulletproof, regularly running 100,000 miles without major work. What set the BMW apart was build quality. Everything was engineered to last. The frame was robust, the suspension was properly damped, and the brakes actually worked, which was rare for that era. The Earl's fork front suspension looked odd, but provided excellent control and comfort. The riding position was perfectly comfortable for all-day riding. American touring riders who discovered BMWs became lifelong devotees. This was a motorcycle you could actually depend on for cross-country trip. The engine sipped fuel and ran forever. The wind protection and comfortable seat made long rides pleasant instead of punishing. It wasn't exciting, but it was utterly competent. Why is it forgotten? BMWs were expensive, twice the cost of a British twin. The performance was modest compared to sportier bike, and American riders in the 60s generally wanted excitement, not practicality. But for serious touring riders, the R60 2nd Edition was unmatched. It laid the foundation for BMW's reputation as the ultimate touring motorcycle manufacturer. Number 3. Kawasaki W1. Before Kawasaki became famous for insane two-stroke triples and superbikes, they built something unexpected, a 650cc four-stroke twin that was basically a copy of the BSA A7. Sounds uninspiring, right? But the W1 was actually better than the bike it copied, and it proved Kawasaki could build serious motorcycles. That 624cc vertical twin produced about 50 horsepower and was styled to look British. The engine layout, frame design, even the general aesthetics were clearly influenced by BSA, but Kawasaki improved everything. The engine was more reliable, the electrics actually worked, and the build quality was exceptional. This was British character with Japanese dependability. Performance was solid. The W1 could cruise at 75 miles per hour comfortably and hit 105 miles per hour flat out. The handling was good, with proper suspension and decent brakes. The riding position was comfortable for touring, but sporty enough for spirited riding. And unlike temperamental British bikes, the W1 started reliably and didn't leak oil. American riders appreciated the W1's combination of classic styling and modern reliability. You got the look and feel of a British twin without the constant maintenance hassles. The engine had character. It vibrated just enough to feel alive, sounded properly throaty, and delivered power with satisfying authority. But Kawasaki quickly moved beyond the W1. By 1968, they were developing the two-stroke triples that would make them famous. The W1 became an evolutionary dead end, a stepping stone in Kawasaki's journey to becoming a major manufacturer. Number 2. Laverda 750 SF. The Laverda 750 SF arrived at the very end of the 60s and immediately announced that Italian motorcycles weren't just about exotic race replicas. They could build serious sport touring machines too. This 744cc parallel twin Twin was Laverda's first big bike, and they absolutely nailed it, yet hardly anyone remembers it existed. That big parallel twin engine produced about 60 horsepower and made torque like a diesel truck. The engine featured a unique 180-degree crankshaft, giving it perfect primary balance. This wasn't some peaky, temperamental Italian exotic. It pulled smoothly from 2000 RPM to redline. The power delivery was incredibly flexible, making it perfect for everything from city traffic to highway cruising. Build quality was exceptional. Every component was overbuilt. The frame was massively strong. The wheels were robust. Even the fasteners were better quality than competitors used. Laverda built these bikes like they expected them to last forever, and they did. The handling was excellent, with proper suspension and powerful brakes that actually worked consistently. What made the 750 SF special was its versatility. This bike could tour comfortably all day, then attack mountain roads with genuine sporting ability. The riding position worked well in varied conditions. The engine was smooth enough for long-distance comfort, yet characterful enough to remain engaging, and it was genuinely reliable, in ways Italian bikes were supposedly never. Number 1. Münch Mammut. We have saved the best for last. The Münch Mammut was absolutely insane. A 1000cc 4-cylinder motorcycle when most bikes were 650cc twins. Friedel Münch took an NSU car engine, stuffed it into a motorcycle frame, and created the most powerful production motorcycle in the world. This wasn't just legendary, it was outrageous. That NSU car engine produced 55 to 88 horsepower depending on tune, which was absolutely staggering for the 1960s. More importantly, it made massive torque, enough to pull from idle in top gear and accelerate. The engine was a double overhead cam 4-cylinder that was smooth, sophisticated, and utterly bulletproof. This was automotive engineering in a motorcycle, and it changed everything about what was possible. Performance was genuinely shocking. Top speed approached 120 miles per hour, but the real story was how the Mammut got there. Effortlessly, smoothly, with power to spare. The handling was surprisingly good despite weighing nearly 600 pounds. Friedel Münch understood motorcycles, and he built a proper chassis to handle that massive engine. Only about 300 Mammuts were built, each essentially handmade in a small German workshop. They were phenomenally expensive, twice the cost of any other motorcycle, but buyers got something unique. A motorcycle that could outrun anything else on the road while doing it with German precision and reliability. Why is it forgotten? Most people never saw one. Production was tiny and they stayed mostly in Europe, but the Mammut proved that motorcycles could be much more powerful and sophisticated. It influenced the superbike revolution that followed.